Hello from the New Forest. Uh, just over there was a deer just now, and one of the reasons for coming here and doing this is that I heard a program last week about the wood wide web. Hard to say, but have you heard about that? So underneath the feet, all these trees, they say these days, are interconnected by what's called the mycorrhizal network. So lots of mycelium, which is like a sort of fungi, is connecting together all these different trees so that they're sharing nutrients apparently, and sharing resources. And when there's a pest comes along, they can put up special chemicals and stuff to try and ward off that particular pest. So it's like a interconnected communications super highway around here. It seemed a good thing to talk about because Candice and Ruth and I were talking about the communication stuff on Friday, if that's not too strong a link. But I'm really interested in our communications highway and network, how we communicate between each other. I love it when people share stuff on the WhatsApp group, things to pray for, but also things that they're doing. I love it in terms of starting to see people from different projects going to see each other. So the guys from Poole Food Bank and Mikey at the Storehouse are having lots of chats about different ways they can work together. That's just brilliant. And I'm really interested over the summer just to chat with you about ways that we can help ourselves in the way that we internally communicate. I was down at Christchurch with Sarah and Tracy this last week, and they were talking about, we'd put a little volunteers note about safeguarding around to everybody, and it was on the wall, and actually it was getting a really good look at by the volunteers. They found that very helpful, so maybe we should do more of that. But of course, then there's the email thing. How can we not drown in emails with each other? So it'd be really interesting just to chat with you about some of those. With regard to external comms, so we've obviously got the website up and going. Is it on your own phone? I'd be really keen to see everybody have that on the phone, because it does have answers to the questions, when are things open and stuff like that. So if you haven't yet loaded it up onto your phone, please have a go at that. Ruth's compiling a list of tweaks and amends that are needed, so if you spot things that aren't quite right, then get those into her. It's a sort of Google Doc list, and she will be working through those. But we're also really keen to come and sit and think with you as individual projects about how people are using your particular page or your particular part of the website. We want it to not be just a static thing, but to keep growing and keep developing. So there may be particular things that you've got in mind which you can add to the story there. And obviously we're updating all the documents which have logos on and stuff like that. And I know some of you will be doing that maybe for documents you have in your area. Top tip to avoid massacring logos and changing shape and distorting them and so on. As Ruth said, if you hold down the shift key while you move it with a mouse, then it keeps the dimensions of the logo. Well, there you go. Every day's a school day. And obviously one of the things we want to keep putting on there is to keep it fresh, is the stories about specific things that are going on or particular situations that you've seen in your area. We're going to get some from some of the annual reviews. We've got a few annual reviews just to finish, which again Ruth's working on. But even this week, again, being at Christchurch, heard a couple of great stories. One where somebody who's come to the new community meal and has now started coming to church, and one of the people there has got a job, so they're really integrated into the community and seeing a real step forward in their lives. Another one where they have a little hardship fund, which a very kind funder has provided in Christchurch, and they were able to use that for helping a kid who'd been sent home from school for not having the proper school shoes because his parents couldn't afford it or family couldn't afford it, and they were able to pay for those shoes so the kid could go into school. And a couple of others, they were able to send on a school trip, which was really important for that family. So lovely little stories that are appearing. We'd love to just get those real quick onto social media and onto the website, keep it really fresh to underline the alongsideness bit that we keep on talking about, don't we? So, and then the final bit around comms is we're just sort of thinking about the campaigns for the autumn. One of those which you just want to start pondering is whether there is a daily, just one thing that people can do today to help with the cost of living situation. But if you've got any ideas about campaigns that we need to do on the coming days, then do have a chat with Candice, Ruth, or myself, and we'll try and build that into the plan going forward. So over the course of August, we'll get that finalised. And of course, there's another thing that helps tell our story is which I shared with the trustees this last week. We had that little overview of how we're doing on performance numbers or measures or whatever. Well, I'll send that round in the email, but there's some really encouraging things again in there. Well, not so encouraging that food bank demand is up by 6% again on the previous quarter and 12% on last year. So you can just see the level of demand. The CMA team last week were saying there's 9 new cases in Poole, there's 4 new cases in Christchurch, there's more cases coming into Bournemouth, so that you can just see how the demand is starting to grow again, or continuing to grow. Really pleased to see, thank you Rachel for just digging into the detail of the number of regular donors. So we had 53 new donors in the quarter up to June, but overall we've got 480 regular donors, so people who've given more than 3 times in the year. And that's not just people with a standing order, that might be someone who's used the donor text giving or has given in some other way on a regular basis. So again, really encouraging to see those numbers, but I still have in my mind, I'd love to see 480 get to 580 by Christmas. So let's keep talking about how we can make that happen. Anyway, enough. If all that seems quite an overwhelming amount of stuff, then please continue to rest as you can over July and August. A little phrase I heard, continue to rest because God is awake. And actually there's a cracking verse that I found in Philippians, which in the Amplified verses says something like this: for it is God who's effectively at work in you, strengthening and energizing and creating in you the longing and the ability to fulfill your purpose. Creating in you the longing and ability to fulfill your purpose. I love that phrase. So don't worry, you're being enabled to do the things that you want to do this week. So keep going. Thanks for all you are doing, and do enjoy the forest while you can.